One of the bigger developments occurring is with the Carolina Panthers. And no, it's not the fact that they traded someone or they're interested in somebody else, but the player they've eyed all draft season the past 4 months. You look up any mock draft by anybody, it could be the worst thing you've ever seen or the best thing you've ever seen. Pick 8 is consistent. So it's been Jalon Walker to the Carolina Panthers, set in stone. But with that in mind, there have been reports about teams being interested in Jalon Walker ahead of them. So now the question is, if the Panthers are at 8 and Jalon Walker is selected ahead of them, what direction will they go? Would they go Ted McMillan? Would they do a trade down with another team? What happens? Do they draft a different edge rusher? And the answer to that question is quite simple by process of elimination. First, you look at, trading down. What team quite possibly would trade up with the Carolina Panthers? And the answer is no one. As of now, this would be the first draft in a number of years where every single team in the NFL has their first-round pick still. And I think it's going to stay that way for a reason. Why is that? It's because it's not very, the draft is not very star-studded at the top, and it is very deep for the first and second round. I'd say the first 2 rounds is very deep. And because of that, the Panthers are in a bad position because they can't trade down, and therefore they would in theory have to reach for an edge rusher if they were to select one at pick 8, not named Jalon Walker. I like certain players like James Pierce, sure, but he wasn't even part of a top 30 visit there. So what does that tell me? They're not drafting James Pierce in the first round. And therefore, any other edge rusher they had visit them, like Donovan Izarike from Boston College or Shamar Stewart from A&M, could be a reach. So I think the answer, believe it or not, would be Ted McMillan. And why would Ted McMillan be the answer for the Carolina Panthers? Well, it's quite simple. Look at who the Panthers have on offense. They have Bryce Young, a third-year quarterback that they have a lot of confidence in, right? A quarterback they want to build around, who, sure, he did struggle at the beginning of his second season, sat out, and then he grew into what I believe is truly a possible top 12 quarterback in the NFL. He looked poised, he looked confident, and he delivered in games late in the season. He really did. I know Panthers fans remember that. The games that he had, like against the Atlanta Falcons, he looked really, really poised late in the season. He went out there and beat them in overtime, 44-38. He had a strong end of the season, and so because of that, they're going to want to build around him. And then you look at the rest of their offense. They're solid on the O-line. Running back, they tripled down with Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, and then they drafted Brooks from Texas last season. Obviously, he'll be out this year with an injury, but he'll be there the next year. Tight end, I like what they have there in Sanders from Texas, another young guy. But wide receiver is very problematic. Very problematic. They have Adam Thielen, who's 35 years old. At best, you get 1 year out of him, and at that, what are you going to get out of that 35-year-old Thielen? What the NFL has shown us is that at any point in time, a wide receiver, once they're age 30 or past it, they can have the worst fall-off of all time that next season. Xavier Legette is good at taking the top off the defense, but he is nothing more than that. He's a good wide receiver too, but he can't be a great wide receiver one. And therefore, I think if Jalon Walker's off the board, I truly believe this, they would draft Ted McMillan at pick number 8 to support Bryce Young and also to give the head coach a player and a prototype of someone he loves to build and have great success with. So for those who aren't familiar with Dave Canales, obviously you all are, the first-year head coach for the Carolina Panthers. Before joining them, he was the OC at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And before that, he was the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks and wide receiver coach. And who did he have at wide receiver that was so dominant on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Mike Evans, 6'5", lanky, jump ball, huge wingspan wide receiver. You look at the Seattle Seahawks. Who did he happen to be coaching at his time there? Oh, I don't know. How about DK Metcalf? 6'4", vertical, through the roof, large wingspan that can catch anything, especially a jump ball. And what do the Panthers need? A wide receiver. And who will still be on the board for the Carolina Panthers to select? Oh, I don't know. How about a 6'4" wide receiver, 219? He weighs 219 pounds with a 31.5-inch arm length, who had 2 explosive seasons on the Arizona Wildcats. The one, the only, Tet McMillan. Yeah, he had 1,300 yards last season and 1,400 the year before and combined 18 touchdowns. He would be the perfect selection. And not only would he be the perfect selection if Jalon Walker's not there, but he would still be the perfect selection if Jalon Walker was there. Because you have to give what you believe is your top-tier quarterback, someone who's young, someone you can build around and potentially have success with long-term, a wide receiver capable of making big plays and being open for him. And that's what Tet McMillan would provide. He would provide a safety valve, a go-to guy, and someone that can help you win games. And as the age-old adage says, offense wins games, defense wins championships. But how do you get to the championship? How do you get to the playoff? By winning games. And how do you win games? By having offense. And what do you need outside of a wide receiver to win games? Out of a quarterback to win games? A wide receiver. So the Carolina Panthers should draft Tet McMillan. And if their visits have shown us anything, they've invested in looking at edge rushers all the way down from first round to 7th round. Meaning that they don't draft one here, it's going to be okay. Why? Because they'll draft one in the 2nd round and they'll draft one in the 3rd round. And heck, maybe they'll draft one in the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 4th. Who knows? Maybe they'll trade back up and get somebody else at the end of the 1st round at the defensive end position where it's not as big of a reach, and you trade your 2nd round pick and a little bit something else, a little sweetener, and you get Shamar Stewart in the late 20s to pair up with Tet McMillan. But the answer should be Tet McMillan